So, first off, thank you to you three for starting this conversation with me over the last couple months. Because something, as I was going through the visioneering process, talking about, applying it to where we're at in Mary Kay right now and what God's called, us to do as leaders in Mary Kay, you start to pay attention to, Nehemiah had to build and pray. And he had to build and fight off criticism and naysayers. But he knew that he was called to rebuild a wall. It took 52 days, something that hadn't been done in decades, maybe hundreds of years. So I started to think, what has allowed our wall of Mary Kay to crumble from what I was taught and what I have seen? And crumbling is a very slow process, right? It's little by little by little. And so my question, I'm seeing that the 600 wholesale has become the gold standard of success in Mary Kay. I'm not seeing star consultants being onboarded. I'm seeing them earning inventory but not being onboarded. And when I ask some directors, how many stars have you brought into your unit on their initial order since January, I was scared. It's like not many at all. For trip units, $1 million units, scary. And you guys, when I started, I had a job out of the University of Michigan's business school. If I was operating with the 600 and had to be an order taker, I wouldn't have done this. I would not have stayed in this. I stayed in it because I wanted Debbie Moore's position, but I also knew that if I was gonna work it into my already really busy life, there had to be value immediately. And so I was taught, I was recruited to start a business, not to be an order taker. Did I have people who took orders on my team? Yes, but they were recruited to start a business, and then they could decide if they wanted to just be a star or just be personal use. Versus recruiting people to do an e-start, working up to get a 600, and then we wonder why people aren't moving up the career path. Do you see what I'm saying? So in this search, there's now resources to help you through this, and there will be more. But on the resource sheet that you have, you can go to my website. There's now a section called Business Owner versus Order Taker. Because for some of you who started during the pandemic, this is a new conversation for you. For those of you who have been in Mary Kay for a while, you're gonna recognize this is what I was taught and this is what I did, I just got away from it. But for us to move forward and have women like Lindsay leave corporate America, she doesn't really have time for a side hustle, nor was recruited for a side hustle. And we have come to a point where we're playing not to lose in recruiting, and we're crowd hunting versus head hunting. I was head hunted, and I bet you were too. Someone wanted you in Mary Kay. They knew that you would be good if you chose to invest your gifts and talents here. And so, but that's a different conversation. Have we always had more personal use and people, that their goal was to do 600 wholesale a month? Absolutely, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're in leadership, looking for leaders, those are the 98%. They're not the 2%. The 2% that become the directors, they bring 24 plus people into the business. Those other people I've never met a consultant that brings 24 in and does the production unless they want to be a sales director. Do you agree? Mm-hmm. Yes. Someone does not become a national, they don't recruit 20 directors in a short time period unless they're going to become a national sales director. So growth in our company, rebuilding this wall, has to do with how they're brought into the company, how they're recruited into the company. And so for many of us, This is like a wake-up call, and you can have people go onto that section on my website where myself and Cleta Colson Air did a event where we're talking about business owner versus order taker. You can go into that section on my website, and Cleta, because of having this conversation with her, put together business owner mindset versus order taker mindset. So those like that can't differentiate that because you don't know what you don't know, which is fine. You can differentiate the difference there, but also she made up a list of what order takers say. Common sentences, words, thoughts that they say. So those resources are all there for you. And then for directors, I'd recommend listening to my new consultant section, my welcome, and my business strategy. Because I haven't changed what I've done because of the pandemic. I haven't. I do virtual business, but I do exactly the same thing that I was taught to do by Mary Kay Ash, Daleen White, Debbie Moore, and Kathy Halou. And you know what I'm finding is that it's sustainable, profitable, and transferable. And the other things that people are doing, they may have spikes in sales or recruiting, but I'm not seeing it be transferable or sustainable. And so this conversation, business owner versus order taker, started off with onboarding stars, and it's turned into so much more. So I just want you to listen to it, and then this might help you evaluate, when you're doing your 4-point recruiting plan at your parties. Do you even know the 4-point recruiting plan? That's part of a full circle party. Doesn't matter if you want to be a director or not. Mary Kay told us that we're supposed to offer the product and the opportunity to everyone we meet. If you don't, you're deciding for them. You are being pushy. You've gate-kept information from them. If you don't share the whole big Mary Kay opportunity, what's available, because I don't want to overwhelm them, I don't want to scare them. You guys, stop. Every single woman you talk to, if she hasn't had a human come out of her body, she's still done other really tough stuff in her life. Why are you not offering her the whole Mary Kay opportunity? Because you'll overwhelm her. Give her the opportunity to decide if she wants to give it a shot or not. The whole big Mary Kay opportunity. And if she decides that she doesn't want it, then of course, get your toe wet with the star order. Because an 1800 is what a 3600 was when I started. Think about it. When I started with an 1800, got another credit card to get out of credit card debt, but I was taught how to run it like a business, so this wasn't consumer debt, it wasn't a consumer loan. That was what a 3600 is worth now, because skincare was 60 bucks. You have $250 skincare sets now. Really, a 3600 is 7,200 now in inventory. So we're still talking about the business. I mean, can you imagine, 40 years later, a franchise cost a lot more than it did 40 years ago. Mary Kay, everything costs more, right? Yeah. But we're still talking about it like it was 40 years ago. Like, that's not good business advice. Mary Kay pays you to be a business coach. A director's a business coach. A national is a coach of coaches. And so, Mary Kay started this as a business. So know that there's more information there. This will be, this is an introductory conversation to get your wheels turning. To hear, what are you saying when you're offering this opportunity? Who are you looking for? And then in onboarding for consultants and directors, you can go on to YouTube, which is listed on that resource sheet, my master's program, which is for directors. But you guys, if you're the type that's that's too much, it overwhelms me, then don't watch it. But if you're the type that's I want as much information as possible because I want to know that I'm going to be taught how to think when I get there. And it makes here seem so much littler and easier when I look at what's going on there. So masters, it is session 4 and 5. It's onboarding new consultants. Because if you're in DIQ, you need to start watching that now. So you're listening to your director's onboarding conversations. So when you're a director, you know how and why. The why is far more important than the how. And all the directors, my directors in my area, I recommend you do masters in July and in January. And partner up with some other directors, you watch it independently, and you come together, maybe just on Voxer together, and share what you're taking away and what you're applying. Because my master's program is to directors what boot camp is to consultants. And that boot camp was done now 29 years ago. I've lived back in Michigan 29 years. And I did that because I was in an all-out panic because we didn't have social media. We didn't have the internet. I mean, we faxed and we thought we were super high-tech. And we had cell phones that were huge and they were on poles in the front of your car and between the driver's and passenger seat. So I made a voice recording and made cassettes and had to have them sent out because my husband had just left being a federal agent and he was making well over $100,000 a year at that point in time. He moved up real fast and was making a lot of money. But God's like, you're not doing that anymore. And he will tell you things like that. And you're moving back to Michigan. You're like, okay, now I understand. Things get real clear in retrospect, right? But the information, the point of this is that information is as valid today as it was 30 years ago. Because when we hit the pandemic, all I did is go back to boot camp and how do you do this with a computer screen in front of you? That's the question. Not, I don't know how to do a computer, I don't know how to do virtual business, I'm not a social media maven. Stop. I think it's wise to learn how to get a Zoom account that does more than 30 minutes. Pay for it. We used to pay a lot more to travel and work and gas and do exactly what you do in person. But I will tell you it's easy to learn in person and transfer it to a computer. Those of you that learn behind a computer, you got to go do a perfect start, a power start in Pearls. You have to act like a brand new consultant again. And anyone could do that in June for a great restart. So I asked these three because I've been having conversations with them about this topic. And so they don't know what I'm asking and they can say whatever they want. I just need them to be short sentences. So the SI, I know you want to tell us everything, but you just can't right now. So she's gonna be a DI up here, like nobody's business. Nobody's business. But do know that this is the tip of the iceberg for this conversation. What you're gonna do is learn more about it as you're out there team building and selling the whole big Mary Kay opportunity versus getting so many e-starts in and apologizing, that we keep inventory on hand and not even talking about the money we make in being a business owner. Because who you're losing is me. I didn't want a side hustle. I didn't want a hobby. I still don't. I'll rebuild my Mary Kay business to make more money if I need it. And so we don't want to miss these people, these women out there, because there's other Lindsays out there. But then you don't want to disregard our other DIQ who's been in 13 years. You give everyone a place to win, and then when it changes, they're in your team versus restarting with someone else, right? Because God's timing is God's timing. We're not in control of that, but you are in control of how many people are in your unit. And 20% produces 80% in any business or organization. 20% of 30 is far different than 20% of 100, 150. We were talking about getting 100 skincare customers. First goal for directors, 100 meeting members. And then you go to 150, and then you go to 200 and beyond. So, would you guys share, when you started your Mary Kay business, I want to hear how you were recruited and why did you get started? I want them to hear what the people were saying to you when you started that made you say, okay, I want to give this a shot. Because I know none of you were recruited to get your things at cost. No. Okay, who wants to lead us off?
I can.
Okay.
I have been a customer of Irene for 16 years. I was 16 years old, and when I was 18, she said, I think you'd be good at this. And Dawn just said that, right? Somebody believed in me that I would be good, and I said, no, I'm gonna be a nurse, I can't do that. And I was going into nursing school, this and that, and then after a very not great career as a nurse manager in a very stressful position, I had to do something different. I had to, and I knew that God had a plan, but what was it? And my husband said, could you just do something that'll make you happy? And so when the mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And so for 10 years, Irene never gave up on me. She would always say, you wanna come to a meeting? You wanna come to a meeting? No, 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 no. And so finally, I thought, well, what makes me happy? My baby, my husband, you know, our newborn to be, and I decided I would call Irene and say, I'm ready to go to that meeting. And I waddled in there 7 months pregnant, and it was amazing. And I saw the picture of women like liking each other, whereas I didn't have that in the hospital. And it was like, what is this? What is this? And I bought my starter kit that day on July 31st. That's fun. Anyway, and so I decided to, what I heard was, this is a business, you're gonna need products. My adoptive director, Connie True, explained all that to me. She talked to me about the star order, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. My husband just got laid off, and I couldn't see that far, but what I did know was I needed product because I used and loved it for so many years. And so Jim and I talked. I got the $600 order. I thought a pink Mack truck was gonna come and deliver it. And when it arrived, I cried because I was hormonal and I didn't have all of everything. I wanted everything. So we had a conversation and we said, no, this is a business. We're gonna get you a star order. We got to 2,400, well, and the rest is history because you sell and you need more and you sell and you need more. So I knew I was stepping into a business. And my father was a business owner. I knew what that meant. That meant he was the boss. And I don't know about you, but if I had gone into my my nursing advisor's office and I would say, Denise, I want your job, I would have been fired pretty darn quick, right? But I knew it was gonna be better for me to be the one calling the shots. So I said yes to Mary Kay because I wanted a business, but I knew that it was much more than just having products and not doing the work to get there. I followed her directions, Power Start, all the things, made more money as a new consultant per hour, $28 per hour versus $24 that I was making per hour as a nurse manager. And I said, if I'm gonna take time away from my family, it's gonna count. So I think that's really,
You're at one. Yep.
yeah, that's where I was.
Yep. Next.
My journey started, people had come to my house and gave me facials, let me buy whatever I wanted to buy, and that was it. I was at work, and I really did work enormous amount of hours, and this guy sit up in my office, and he complained I gave him everything I could to get him out of my office. He eased me his wife's Mary Kay business card. I only filled it out to get him out of my office. And his wife started calling me, and I ignored her calls, because literally I was working 65, 70 plus hours a week. I literally had a staff of 50, and it was in wireless sales and communication, and it was, as I say, it was a lot. I ain't gonna say that, Dawn. It was a lot, but he got up one Saturday morning, and he said, there's a breakfast downtown Detroit, and I need you to go down there and meet my wife. He called my house, not her, he called my house, and he said these magical words, this time, let your word be your bond. That's what I'm saying, y'all. Just cut me. Oh, sorry. I got cut day one. And so I go to the breakfast, and I saw them having so much fun. I saw celebrations, I saw recognition, and it was like Jesus said, open up the doors to the church, Terry, come on down. Seriously, that's how I felt. And I walked down front, and I happily posted that check, happily. And I'm so grateful when I look back that I posted the check. What if I said I didn't have the money, which I didn't, but they could post their checks back then. And I was able to post their check. By the time Mary Kay got that check, I had gotten paid. And I'm so grateful I stepped out. Inventory came right away. See, back then we had the basic skincare sets. And my director said, well, you gotta have 10 of the normal, 10 of the combination, 10 of the oily. And I'm like, what? And I was so afraid, but I knew I had to do it because I never saw myself lasting in corporate America. I always saw myself as wanting a business. No one had a business around me growing up. But I knew I was called to run a business. Now, how I knew, God just placed that in my spirit. And I went and crawled and borrowed money, $2,200 for $1,800 order, y'all. And I was taught to hold those get 6 people around the table because we actually had 6 meals. They didn't say 2 or 3, they said 6. And this is how I grew. So if I had a party, when I had my first party, if you walk around that house and say, who is that upstairs walking? Get them to the table, I gotta have 6. I literally was so excited, and it really got 6 people. I was not gonna leave that house unless I had 6. And didn't read anything, just having fun. I knew I was making money. This I did know, because my husband too was laid off for a long time. And I began to go to the bank, deposit my money, and make sure I deposit my money into the bank and make sure I ordered my product. And I started recruiting right away, not knowing anything, because I was so excited about not knowing, but I was having fun and making money and put income into my house. I couldn't help because he was mad and laid off, but I was having fun and making money. And I just kept going, y'all. And that was the start of my Mary Kay business, not seeing no one in my family with a business, but I knew I had to be the one to make a difference.
A lot with getting started with inventory, because the less time women have and the higher their need is for income, the higher their need is for inventory. Because when they do business, they need to see a paycheck. Because at every party, you know, you can see a paycheck. Every facial, you can see a paycheck. But a lot of that depends on having product on hand. Because you do a party with roll-up bags for each person, them seeing it either on a screen that you're demoing out of, and you have them rolled up and in the background, versus talking about it. People have fought me on this we used to have complete collection trays. And now you have roll-up bags. I mean, it was an acrylic tray and everything fell over as you're driving to the party, or someone lifted the acrylic bag up. But then everyone had one at the end of the, table close, and then you did individual close, so you figure out how to do that in virtual too. Then, everyone has one, and people don't want to leave without the whole thing, but it's just like in a roll-up bag. If you have 3 or 4 levels, they'll pick a middle level. In inventory, they'll pick a middle level when they're offered. But they're either way, they are seeing the customers see products that they can take away with them. You guys, direct selling companies in the United States aren't doing well. You haven't noticed. They're getting bought, they're getting sold, they're getting changed, they're getting sold. Because when it was just the pandemic and that's all you could buy out of, that was one thing. But people have choices again. And if it's easier for them to get their Mary Kay from the person next door with products on hand than you that has to CDS it, then that's the golden rule that you have to honor. Because the golden rule applies to our customers also. And as a customer, they want their products when they want their products, right? You don't go into stores and are you fine with them saying, we're gonna get that to you, but we need your money now? And you're like, yeah, I think I'm gonna buy groceries here. No, I'm not doing that. And so, Mary Kay gave us the opportunity because she was in direct sales and couldn't have inventory. Now we call it direct sales and we think of social media marketing, but back in the day, Mary Kay did Stanley Home Products and all the companies that she worked for supporting her family, and she was always an order taker. No one allowed her to keep products on hand. And then she created this, and we got to have products on hand. And then they put the 90% buyback policy in, so there's no financial risk. And now the company, a new consultant in their first 4 months can get thousands of dollars of free product.
Yes.
Again, I am a little bitter about that because I got something. I got a ladder and a star consultant gift. And maybe my director had a ring and a box, and if you started as a star, you were getting, a summer diamond, right? Summer diamond, summer. They weren't all diamonds. But we were excited about them, right? They turned into real diamonds. But she gave us something, and we have evolved into a place that people villainize having products on hand. Like it's a bad thing. Like I don't have to have products on hand. I don't have to leave my house. I can do everything right here. I have far more flexibility. My life's much better. You know what? If that's true, awesome. Then do it that way. But don't villainize Mary Kay's offer to us that if you want to be a business owner versus an order taker, you have products on hand and get pirate ship or some shipping things. So the only time you use CDS is when you have to. You guys, I can see every single order in my whole national area. And I can tell you the people that use CDS all the time are not making money. They're not making money. You're paying too much. You can pay far less with another shipping thing, and then when the company runs out of something, or they have a supply chain, then your customers are mad at you. Why not be a business owner and protect yourself from that? Mary Kay gave us such a gift, and that they still keep the 90% buyback policy in this economy. Is anyone buying back your college education and it's worth nothing? It's a piece of paper and a certificate. Anyone buying back your car that just devalued 33% when you drove it off the lot? No, they just have you renting it. Like, we're talking money here, you guys. We're talking finances. And if you weren't brought up talking money and finances, then you have to learn how to do it because you're a business coach. How can you teach someone how to run a business if you won't talk about money? There's no business if there's no money. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's no church if there's no money. There's no doctor's office if there's no money. There's no schools if there's no money. There's no ministry if there's no money. So why are we afraid? And people will generally manage their money in their Mary Kay business how they manage their personal finances. And so, like Terry and I both wrote post-date checks. So that means that we've probably always been able to spend more money than we make.
That's right.
And the good thing about that is in Mary Kay, you can make more money.
Yes.
The bad thing is that you may embezzle your way out of your inventory a couple times. That's happened. And then you got to go back in and recapitalize and dig yourself out of another hole, but you learn your lesson, hopefully. I think I've only done it twice. And then you go, like, this is stupid. I mean, this is my fault. Like, I can change this. The business is, it's not that the business isn't working, I'm not working, and I'm not managing my finances. That's why businesses go out of business. And you guys, we're seeing that all around us in Metro Detroit. All over the world, businesses are changing how many employees they have and how they're working because of what we've experienced over the last 4-5 years, and it's not gonna change overnight. And so do know that as you see Mary Kay Inc. make changes, it's so that our company is around another 60 years. But the only people that can take us into the next 60 years is us. Because the company doesn't sell direct and they don't recruit direct unless they're gonna have to. So Mary Kay gave us these batons. Are you going to do with it what you're called to do with it? Or are you gonna whine and cry when we don't have an opportunity any longer because we didn't take advantage of it when we had it? You guys, that's the time period we're at. But what's exciting about that is there's such great opportunity. Because there's so many women that want what we have product-wise and opportunity-wise. You are the leaders that are gonna go find them. You're the ones that 10 years down the line, you're gonna go, oh, I walked out of that director's meeting and I found a team of women that are like me. They love this business and they love this opportunity and they're willing to work. And work is not a bad word. Work started before the fall, before Genesis 3. God created us to work. And when you're doing the work he called you to, that's how you worship him. How well are you worshiping him? Come on.
Okay. So obviously my perspective was different for Mary Kay, as Dawn is my mom. But I was thinking about this, you guys. I saw growing up our Mary Kay, like I was part of it. She didn't call it a family business, but my mom's Mary Kay business is what paid for our real life. Okay? So there was no question to me of if you made money in Mary Kay or not. I saw it. Like, we had a house. I got clothes. Like, I ate food because of Mary Kay. But I also saw in the basement that she talked about, there were products. And I saw products leave and products and money come in. I saw that exchange. So I quickly learned, like, okay, yes, you work, you sell things, you make money. So it was of no, surprise to me when I chose to start at 19 that she said, okay, what are you gonna do for inventory? What inventory are you gonna get? And I was going to my sophomore year, I was living in a sorority house. So I got a trunk that had a lock on it, like a real lock and key. Because I knew I didn't trust who was gonna try to have sticky fingers with my Mary Kay products. But I didn't say, oh, I don't have the space in this little shoebox that I was living in, or, I never had a job, I'm a college student. I didn't say that. I knew I needed products on hand to sell to everyone. So that's what I did, and then I've continued doing it, from there. And as we've talked about when we were talking about this, I'm like, oh wow, we've all gone through husbands losing jobs and using our Mary Kay income to make up the difference, because we chose to have products, and we knew that once you have products on hand, you can no longer say you can't afford things. You're just saying you're unwilling to work for it. But when you have products on hand, you have ownership of that, and I own a business. So when I need extra money, I just know that I need to sell more products, which then gets you in front of the people that build your team. So, but I saw it growing up, and you guys, I don't want people to say like, well, I didn't see that growing up. You see it now. You see it now. You have the example of all of these people who chose to play by the rules of the game, and there's been sustainability and excess income. Income above our, hopes and dreams, because we chose to treat it like a business from the start.
So share with me from your guys' perspective, why do you think this is an important and relevant conversation to be having right now in the stage that we're at in Mary Kay? Because you guys have a lot of perspective and a lot of years.
I would say what I was talking about earlier was there are women out there in their 50s who are looking for something. And those who are about to retire because that's what the norm says, and when you turn 65 you have to retire, but they're not gonna retire, they're smart. They don't wanna just stop doing things. And so, Sue, case in point, that's why she started this, because she has a very successful tax accounting business, makes enough money, but she wants something else. It's very stressful. I've seen, her workload. And so that's what's happening today. People are being overworked and underpaid, and they don't want that anymore. And I was talking with Michelle about teachers. They're making changes in the educational system. They're gonna take away positions, and then the people that are in them are gonna get paid less. So that's what's happening out there. I just think it's relevant because you can control, we were talking about this, you can control how much money you make because you're the boss. And that's so important. You don't have to deal with somebody telling you when you have to go to work, when you can take a lunch break, how many days you can take off for vacation, when your kids are sick, you can't call in. That doesn't happen in Mary Kay. So I think that's what's relevant, to talk to people like that, or the one who I just talked to who said, well, I always ask this question in an interview. I say, so please tell me what you love most about your job, and they'll tell me. And I say, now please answer this question, it's a fill in the blank. I would love my job if it weren't for, I would love my job 1,000,000% if it wasn't for blank. And some of them will say, well, I drive 40 minutes there and 40 minutes back. Or, I don't like the people, you know? I don't like the pay. And so that's their hot button. And if you just ask the questions, you're gonna get answers, and I think that's why it's relevant today for Mary Kay. Business owners, let us be clear, yeah.
Well, and something too, we, with being a business owner, we started off, like I shared, Mary Kay recruited people. She recruited those 9. She didn't put an ad in the paper and say, who wants to sign up? She picked them. And then she told them to find 100, and it was the 4-part recruiting plan. You picked them. And then that's how, I mean, I was warm booked in a mall to be a face model, but then went to that event because Debbie Moore told Nancy Murata, you're gonna call her as many times as you have to get her to a meeting. Because you know when you see people like, she's supposed to be with me. She's supposed to be with me. And so Nancy called me, because I was in retail management, so there was a lot of time, your schedule changes, they own you, and that doesn't change. And so I went to that event and I saw, like Mary Ann said, these women that some were, you know, young, 18, 19, some were 80 plus years old. But these women were supporting each other and loving what they do and growing as human beings and becoming better and doing it in the process of serving other people. I'm like, this is cool. But if I wouldn't have heard the amount of money they're making, I would not have signed up, because I wasn't looking for friends. I wasn't looking for a country club. I wasn't looking for coffee dates. I was looking for a way out of becoming the woman that I was being groomed for after business school. That their job was the #1 priority in their life. And they had to make all their choices around raising their families and getting married in geographic locations based on, you know, their job or their spouse's job. And then we kind of evolved into this place that instead of doing the 4-part recruiting plan, we're just sharing Mrs. Cab. Like when Mrs. Cab is just, it's like an acronym. It's kind of like what, you know, Mary Ann's telling you what she's looking for, what people are looking for. But we thought there was an interview. You know, I offered it to everyone. No, you didn't. You gave them marketing information. And so in my mind, I'm comparing it to my view of direct sales and other people that are doing it as a side hustle. I'm not viewing it as someone that quits a job to do this with 6-figure opportunity and no car payment and no insurance payment. And so we evolved into, you know, we're just like all the other, you know, companies, we're flexible. You know, they have the girl with the briefcase on one shoulder and the baby on the other, and we're flexible. Well, since the pandemic, a lot of people have flexibility. So flexibility is not the word you probably want to be using because they already have it, but what they don't have is control. Just like we were talking about, Lindsay, big job with GM. And she gets told on Friday or Saturday that you're going to Mexico for 3 days for work. You guys, that happens all the time. That's why my husband got out of being a federal agent, because I wanted him to know our kids. And seeing kids after they go to bed at night and leaving before they wake up in the morning, you don't really get to know them. You're financing their life, but you don't know them. And so flexibility is not it. It's the ability to control that. So, and think of the characteristics you want. Don't just use Mary Ann's. You guys all have been in Mary Kay long enough. You know success traits, characteristics that make people successful in this. Who are you looking for? Make a list. That's one of your assignments today. Make a list. Who are you looking for? Because then you share that at your parties, and the people who are that, they lean in. Or if you're doing the virtual follow-ups, like it's on your Google form, it's on however you're getting feedback from people, because they don't. I didn't know what Mary Kay was until I saw Debbie Moore. They need to know what the whole big picture is. Otherwise, they think it's like any other direct selling company out there, and we don't want to become like any other direct selling company out there. That is not our gold standard. We have always been countercultural. In 1963, we were very countercultural. And now we're very countercultural. And we should embrace that and love it. Not give away our power. Becoming an order taker, we gave away our power. Not sharing the big picture gave away our power. You guys, we gotta take back how Mary Kay, like read her autobiography again. Read her books again to see how she thought. And then go back through boot camp. Go back through masters. Like make yourself a student of successful Mary Kay, of profitable, transferable Mary Kay. Because, I mean, stuff isn't transferable if you make it up yourself and you're successful with it, but if other people can't do that, it's not transferable.
Okay.
Terry and Alden, why do you think this is a relevant conversation right now and important?
Very important. So what I do is, at a skincare class, I ask you to tell me one word that would best describe you. You can't tell me a child of God, because we all are. So I just go ahead and nip it in the bud. Just nip it in the bud, because we all are. Tell me, and that word means a lot to me, because that word tells me how you feel about yourself, how you think about yourself. Then I go into a conversation about her job. What do you like most about it? What do you like least about it? If you could change one thing 1 year from today, what would your life look like? Going back to school, no, it's gonna be the same. So I just go ahead on and answer them right away, because going back to college, going back to get your master's, your PhD, your financial situation will still be the same. Matter of fact, I say to her, that I feel you're getting yourself in more debt. I wanna sit down and talk to you about how you can change your financial situation, because I tell people I am the first person in my family to make a financial difference, and from now and for generations to come. I am that person, all because of a business I started in Mary Kay. So I know it's still relevant. It was relevant when I came in 31 years ago, and it's still even more today, because women are working harder. Although they are at home working, they're not making any more. They're not making any changes in their children's future, their grandchildren's future. So I'm very, very focused on having that kind of a conversation and handling those objections, which is nothing I don't understand. So I make sure she understands. I make sure I write down what a skincare party average now is no longer $300. The average skincare class is $500 to over $1,000 now. And it's all about selling the roller bags that I show. So it's so relevant, but that's how I started off.
I think all of that, but I think people are delusional in thinking that people don't need money right now. If you've ever thought like, oh, people really don't need extra money, or like, you know, that person's got a great job or whatever it is, like it's hitting every single socioeconomic level. So we can just call it what it is. Everybody needs extra money. But if we're not talking about the significant money that you can make in Mary Kay, you miss top level people, because like Dawn said, she wasn't signing up for a side hustle. I wasn't signing up for a side hustle either. Like I knew that I wanted to do this for significant income, and that's what they signed up for as well. And there's people that want it because there's, you know, people need extra income, but also people want to have that control, because everybody can see, like, you can have a plan B because your job could drop you at any minute. And I think all of us have personally experienced that, or know somebody just one person away that has experienced that. But if people don't know that Mary Kay can be all of that, then they don't know. And it's our job to share what it can be, and then let people play wherever they choose to. But we have to talk about the money, because if people aren't making money, then why are they doing it? Why invest your time in something that you're not reaping a reward? We're all wise, we wouldn't do that. But where this starts, you guys, is do you believe it? Because you will never recruit people, or you will never recruit really sharp people if you are not making money. And if you're not making money, it's not a Mary Kay thing, it's you're not playing by the Mary Kay rules of the game and getting the products on people's faces and sharing the whole big picture of Mary Kay. Because if you can do a $1,000 skincare class in 2 hours and profit $500, you're making more extra income than people that are working 20, 40, 60 hours at a time. Okay? So we can, like Dawn said, walk out of here and drop the lies in here and leave them, because the lies that you're telling yourself are what is holding you back from where you know you're supposed to be going. So you have to change that in your head first. And we get to, you guys, we get to change it. That's the most exciting thing versus just sitting and playing victim. We get full control over this, which is the most exciting part of it.
Okay, so final thoughts in wrapping this up. What, each of you, I want you to share a final thought, but also what's something that you feel like needs to be interjected into this conversation right now? Because literally we could talk about this for hours. I have 25 points that we could talk about. So this will be a continual conversation, because it needs to be.
So I will talk about the fact that when I went, okay, so I had James in October, and a few months later I went to my first career conference. Remember, I mean, this was all new to me. I went to career conference and I saw women walk the stage, pick up keys to a free car. That was amazing. And then I saw people in the suits parading, and I thought, I want to do that. I want to do that. And I didn't, not just because the suit was cute, but it was pink at the time, and but it was the money they were making. And Ruby Lee Mills, as a national sales director, said, my check is $30,000 this month, and guess what? When I started, I didn't do a party for like 6 months, and that gave me so much hope. You know what I mean? Like, she was real, but that lady cashed a $30,000 check for 1 month or whatever it was. 70 something. And I'll never forget the, you went with her. It was 70,000? Okay. So thank you, Terry. But what happened was I also heard one time when Connie True shared, one of the nationals would go through the drive-through and deposit her check, right? And the lady was like, oh my goodness, what is this? She says, wow, they really pay you good for the year. And she goes, this is for the month. You know? And so that's what caught my attention. And then it propelled me to go to seminar again. Just had a baby not too long ago. And I caught a vision. And at that event, I saw directors debuting on stage, and I said, and I had Chris Kurzawa with me, and I said, Chris, I got it. We were nurses together. We were gonna get out of that profession because we got turkeys on Thanksgiving. And that was our gift, that was our prize, and diamonds are what a girl's best friend. But I said, Chris, I got it. We are here in the nosebleed seats, and we're gonna go home, we're gonna go to work. And what's gonna happen is at the next career conference, Connie's gonna debut me on stage, and then at seminar, I'm gonna debut you on stage. And we went home and we got the job done. Because we saw enough people earning cars and enough people cashing those checks, that was a no-brainer. So my final word would be, will you please think about why you chose Mary Kay? Because this is a business. And I'm gonna say, you're the CEO, you're the executive, you are the secretary, you're the treasurer, you're all those things, you own it. And also, if you give your business to God, you surrender your heart, you surrender everything, the ideas, He will give them to you. You do the visionary book, which has transformed my life in the past few months. You gotta know, and honestly, it's stop pretending you don't know what to do. That's what just, sometimes we just wanna pretend, I don't know what to do, what should I do? You know what to do, because as Dawn has said, book, coach, sell, recruit, repeat. That's it, that's really it. So,
Well, what I'm hearing also through this is that the business owner, order taker conversation is, if we're not talking just inventory. It's making choices based on the Mary Kay rules of the game. And I was taught, you go to 4 events a year: seminar, law retreat, your January event, and career conference. And it was non-negotiable.
That's right.
So I was young.
That's right.
But when your boss told you that these are non-negotiable, I'm like, it's non-negotiable. So now we have people like arguing with us that, well, I'll just make up my own rules. I will tell you, in 39 years, I've never seen anyone make up their own rules and succeed. Not one single time. The Mary Kay Ash rules of success still work. They still work, I can guarantee you. Like, I'm betting I have 2 seminar years left after this before I retire. So, you know, your family security program's based on the last 3 of the last 5. I would not be investing my time into these discussions if I didn't think this was the best investment, not just for my family, but for your families and the future of this company. Because that's why I became a national sales director. It's for the future of the company. This is not about me. This is what Mary Kay Ash God did through her, to point people to him, to rely on him, to build through them, to find the women that need what Mary Kay has to offer. And the products is our vehicle.
Final thought?
Yep.
When I didn't see enough of women of color, but when I came in, that did not set well with me. This is my personal testimony. And I say, come on, Terry. You grew up in the project, you know how to go after whatever you want to. And I grew up in Mary Kay. I'm a teachable person. See, I knew I was teachable, and I knew I was a coachable person. So I didn't fight against the rules. I didn't do any of that. I was like a sponge, because something inside of me was transforming me, and I wanted other women to be transformed as I was being transformed. And with that came a closer relationship with God. And with that came, you can pass this on. And I didn't meet Mary Kay, but I heard Mary Kay say it. It's like she said to me, Terry, you have a responsibility to pass this on to all women. But being a woman of color, I just didn't see enough of us. And I was determined to be the one, or many more to come, and that was in my circle. And that's why I'm so passionate about this has been a business. And Dawn, thank you for telling us to go back to the Masters series on inventory, because I got caught up with this pandemic thing and, okay, 600, you good. Okay, 700, you win a prize. No, that was not how I was raised or trained in Mary Kay. But going back to that series taught me, say, Terry, you gotta talk business. And going forth, I have been so passionate about talking to anyone coming to my organization about being a businesswoman, and that's why I continue to take it from now on. Thank you.
So, in closing, something that, you know, I want people to know, obviously this is a business, and how you make choices, like, I've always wanted to align my choices with people in the positions that I wanted to be in. So, you know, taking all of this information, digesting it, and saying, okay, how do I need to adjust to this? How does my thinking need to change to this? Because our desire, and mine especially, is I want every woman to have the confidence that no matter what happens, you can make whatever income you need in your Mary Kay business. Whether, no matter what storm might be going on, but having that confidence comes from, I've owned that. So we need you guys owning that. And the only way you do that is by doing it. You can't own confidence of things you've never done. So we need you guys owning that. And we need people that are willing to go out there and work and share this version of Mary Kay, because this is Mary Kay, not what people have started changing or whatever. This is what Mary Kay Ash intended, and being loud and proud of who we are and how we own businesses, and being excited about that, because you will replicate what you are and what you own. And I will say, you guys, the work is always worth it. It is always